Akufo-Addo re-emphasizes government's intention of ensuring the economy is much more stronger.
Establishing a strong economy, undergoing structural transformation to value-added activities, which will generate jobs for our young people and enhance their living standards, will be the main preoccupation of my second term.
The business community responds as leaders share deep expectations from the 8th Parliament as well as the inauguration of the administration of President Akufo-Addo. Stay with us for all these stories, especially when we've had the coming in of the 8th Parliament and the inauguration of President Akufo-Addo. We're going to be having all the discussions here on Business Live with me, Charles Ida. We're going for a short break. We'll be right back with the details. Hello and welcome. President Akufo-Addo in his inaugural speech has re-emphasized commitment to establish a strong economy on the back of value addition. He said this will be his main focus in his second and last term as president.
Today, our economy, even in the face of the global pandemic of COVID-19, continues to show resilience and a much faster rate of recovery than originally envisaged, and was indeed one of the fastest growing economies in the world in 2020. Ghana remains one of the most attractive destinations on the continent for direct foreign investment, with the presence in the country of some of the world's largest conglomerates attesting to this fact. Establishing a strong economy, undergoing structural transformation to value-added activities, which will generate jobs for our young people and enhance their living standards, will be the main preoccupation of my second term.
Well, and that's President Akufo-Addo there. Well, he's also been speaking about the need for Ghana to be economically self-reliant, especially when COVID-19 shut the doors to various borders across the world, impeding the export of goods and services, especially essential drugs, to developing countries.
The arrival of COVID-19 drove home the lesson to all of us that we have to be self-reliant. The pandemic has emphasized the fact that we cannot continue to be living on edge in a day-to-day economy. This is dangerous for our survival, and it is important that we set up buffers of protection in all aspects of our lives. So when there was a shortage in the supply of personal protective equipment, at a time when they were being sold at extortionist prices on the world market, the enterprise of the Ghanaian shone through. We produced right here in Ghana our own sanitizers, face masks, medical scrubs, gowns, liquid soap, amongst others. We can indeed build a Ghana beyond aid if we make full use, as we must, of the enterprise and ingenuity of our people, especially our young people.
And we have been joined via Zoom by the Chief Executive of the Association of Ghana Industries, Mr. Serchum Akwabwa. We're so grateful that you joined us, Mr. Serchum Akwabwa. First of all, of course, as you can see on screens, we're also joined by Dr. Joseph Obin, the President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, as well as Mr. Mark Bedu-Abuaji, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Gentlemen, we're so grateful that you joined us. I want to start off with you, Mr. Serchum Akwabwa. The President has made very, impressive comment when it comes to the need for Ghana to be self-reliant, and also a charge on businesses to be much more, up to the task when it comes to value addition. The AGI on this front has been very much productive. Your response?
Well, thank you very much. I think the call by the President and his vision and plan that his second term in office is going to devote more of it to supporting the creation of value-added products, and then in the process help to create jobs is a good call. And as you rightly said, AGI, that has been our advocacy all these years. We believe that if you want to develop a strong economy on a more sustainable basis that will create sustainable jobs, then you have to add value to whatever you are producing. And that is by way of your manufacturing products. So it's a very good call, and we believe it is the best approach. And if you look at most of the countries that have developed, they have strong manufacturing base. And Ghana should be an exception. If you want to create jobs on a sustainable basis, we've experienced growth over the years, but the growth we are experiencing, it is not driven so much by manufacturing. And that is why we are having challenge with job creation. You can have growth in terms of GDP and all that. But at the end of the day, if you want to have growth that creates jobs, then it is the manufacturing sector linked with the agricultural sector. So I think it's a very good call, and we must give every support to the president to achieve this noble objective.
But Seth, we do know that, as you rightly stated, manufacturing very much key, but time and time again, we keep having discussions about the expansion of its competitiveness. What do you think we're missing out when it comes to the expansion of the manufacturing sector and its productivity and contribution to GDP, especially when we're opening up this new administration and 8th Parliament?
Well, as we keep saying, manufacturing is tough. It's not as easy and simple as taking the money from the bank, going to buy goods, selling, making your margin, turning it around. It is a good part of the process, but the key part of it is the manufacturing itself. And it's a very tough activity because whatever investment you do is medium to long term. If you buy machinery, if you put up a factory, by the time you finish putting up the factory, it would have taken 6 months to 1 year, do the trial testing, and so on and so forth. Getting the raw materials and all the components together is really, really tough. So it is a difficult terrain to operate. Secondly, you need to be very competitive. If you are not competitive, others will take your market. Even your local market will be taken away with imports from abroad. So you've got to be competitive. But being competitive means that you must have the factors of production in the most efficient manner. You must produce at a price that is very good. It means that your cost of production must be really low and competitive. Great. If you are borrowing at a very high interest cost, if you are buying electricity at a very high cost, if you are paying labor at a very high cost, then you have a challenge in being competitive. So if you ask me what has been the reason for manufacturing lagging behind, it is because our environment for manufacturing has not been conducive enough. We've not had the kind of funding that will support big ticket projects, that will support the medium to long-term projects, that will bring in the kind of materials we need. The value chain is also not working that well. We need to have an agricultural sector that supplies raw materials to the manufacturing sector on a more consistent, reliable, and regular basis. So all this have to be in place. And then when you produce on competitive basis, then you can protect your own market and also export outside. So the game is competitiveness. And competitiveness is depending very much on the cost of production, which is also highly dependent on the business environment, based on some of the factors that I've mentioned.
Interesting, very solid points you laid out there, Mr. Chuma Kwabwa. I want to bring in Mr. Mark Bedu-Abuaji. You are the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Your presence in Ghana's business climate is very much intense. Now, we have listened to President Akufo-Addo, and if our producers could pull up this particular clip, he made mention of the Continental Free Trade Agreement area and its historic precedents. Quoting that of the former president, that's Kwame Nkrumah. Let's play that particular clip. We come back and I'm going to pose the question to you on the Continental Free Trade and your expectations.
We shall play our full part in the deliberations and activities of all the organizations to which we belong: ECOWAS, the African Union, Commonwealth, La Francophonie, the United Nations, and others. Ghana, which has the privilege of hosting the Secretariat of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, intends to be one of the main drivers of its success. The AFCFTA provides us Africans with a great opportunity to exploit and develop our resources for the benefit of our own people and end the centuries-old exploitation of our continent's vast wealth for the benefit of others.
Mr. Mark Bedu-Abuaji, I believe you did hear the president and what exactly he stated there. The chamber has been at the forefront of ensuring business competitiveness ahead of this single market trade. Your response. If you could unmute your microphone there, please.
Okay. Hello?
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
Is it better? Can I get your question again?
Yeah, so I want to find out
you.
from you your response from President Akufo-Addo's call on the Continental Free Trade Agreement area, especially when the Chamber of Commerce has also been at the forefront of ensuring business competitiveness.
Well, thank you very much. I think the Continental Free Trade Agreement is a very important agreement for Africa and then for Ghana. Now we have a bigger market that we are operating in. So instead of the 30 million that we have, now we have about 1.2 billion people. And as my colleague Seth rightly said, it's not just enough to have the market. You need to be competitive within the market. And that will require that certain things need to be in place. So in the second term of the president, we require a very improved business environment, an environment where we have a very stable exchange rate, an environment where we have available electricity, so to speak, and also cheap electricity. In fact, most of the countries that operate within a free trade agreement, those that benefit largely are those that add value to their raw materials, those that manufacture their goods. And to do that, you require energy, electricity. And our cost of electricity, as I speak to you, is very high. So for us to be competitive, I think that we should look at the cost of electricity as well. Beyond that, lack of long-term funding is one of the big challenges facing businesses. As Seth rightly said, manufacturing is not a 6-month, 1-year job. It's a long-term project and you need a long-term funding. Usually what we realize or we see in Ghana is that because of lack of the long-term funding, businesses will borrow short and use it to finance long-term projects. When you do that, either your business will collapse or you are not able to pay for the loans. So if you really, really want to benefit from the Continental Free Trade Area or the agreement, then we need to move a step further, improve our business environment, make businesses very competitive. The open market also requires that others will bring their goods in. So if you are not competitive enough, they will take up your market, and you cannot also go to other markets. One key thing is also for us to look at how we can join the SMEs in the value chain. SMEs on their own are too small and may not be able to take advantage of this market individually. How do we incorporate them into the regional value chain? For instance, if there's a business in Nigeria that will require a product from Ghana, can our SME supply that product and be part of the bigger value chain or within that continent? So I will encourage that all of us, especially in the second term of the president, should look at the private sector and all regulatory agencies that are involved within this Continental Free Trade Area, the Food and Drugs Authority, the Standard Authority should make sure that they are on point. Because the fact that we have this market does not necessarily mean that you can get up and take any.
Well, I'm afraid it seems I've lost Mark Gbedu-Abuaji, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce. But Dr. Joseph Obin is the President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, and especially when President Akufo-Addo has been talking about the need for value addition, traders in Ghana must be very much concerned about this particular call, especially when we're also headed for the Continental Free Trade Agreement area. It's already happening, actually. He joins us via Zoom. So, Dr. Obin, grateful that you joined us first of all. I will come to you, Sechuma Kwaba, shortly. But, Dr. Obin, you've heard the President today in his call for value addition. Of course, this also comes in the wake of the Continental Free Trade Agreement area. We're just days into its full implementation. What's your response?
Yeah, I think the President's observation and his way forward as regard to value addition is very important. In that, we have said that intra-trade between Africans is only 15%. And that's the reason why we want to boost this 15% to even a higher value. And I've always said that, why are we doing only 15%? We are doing only 15% because the citizens of West Africa, the citizens of Africa do not consume raw materials. We are not able to go past the 15% because most of the countries do not have finished products. And so the way forward for all of us, if we have to make the continental free trade meaningful, then of course we have to add values to our raw materials. And the President call is in right direction. How are we going to be able to do this? Even with the outbreak of the COVID, have exposed us that we over-rely on Asia and elsewhere for our sustenance. And that's the reason why we should look from within to be able to be sustain ourselves by way of value addition to our raw materials, to be able to enhance on the local manufacturing and all that. To be able to do this, we believe that cost of borrowing should be very low and affordable for us. That's the only thing that is worrying businesses now. Industry players have mentioned electricity and other things, and I believe that cost of borrowing is just too much on the higher side. And if we have to be competitive, then we have to look at this angle.
All right. So it's very interesting you make these points, Dr. Obin, because one of the main concerns moving into the Continental Free Trade Agreement area is that of the rules of origin. And if you take a closer look at the terrain of trading in Ghana, from your perspective as retail traders, we realize that most of the goods and services that you trade in are mostly not made in Ghana. How do you balance this challenge?
This is exactly what we are saying, that we are not able to sustain ourselves. Even as the COVID pandemic have even exposed us to, that we were not able to sustain ourselves if China had closed down for a longer time. So all that we are saying is that we can only assess about 10% of our import requirements locally. And that's the way forward now is to go with the president on the value addition, where we will be able to put values on our raw materials to produce more, to be able to be in the supply chain of the continental free trade. We should not only have to be on the receiving end. We have to be positioning ourselves to even supply to the rest of Africa. So the goods and services that are procured here locally are virtually not there. We are still searching for goods that we can even rely on locally, even before looking outside Ghana to other African countries to buy.
All right,
so, is in that direction.
Dr. Obin, please hold on your thoughts there. Mrs. Setchum Akwabwa, I will also want to rope you in on a development that we have picked up regarding the World Bank's rating of our economic progress this year. I want to play that particular clip, downgrading Ghana's economic growth. When we come back, I'm going to ask you specifically the direction that you wish the Parliament, this 8th Parliament, heads to this particular year and the years ahead. I want to play that particular clip where the World Bank downgrades Ghana's, macroeconomic growth by over 1%. If our producers could pull that particular clip up on the downgrading of Ghana's economic growth, then I come to you, Mr. Setchum Akwabwa.
According to the Bretton Woods Institution, the expected resilience in the agricultural sector will not be sufficient to offset the COVID-19 pandemic's lingering adverse impact on the oil and other sectors of the economy. The gross domestic product growth rate will be lower than the expected 2.7% rate for sub-Saharan Africa. Though it had earlier forecast a growth rate of more than 4% for this year, the staggering sharp review of Ghana's growth rate will come as a major concern to policymakers and businesses. It is, however, not surprising because of the existence of the coronavirus pandemic, which many were expecting to have lessened drastically by this time around. The only worry for Ghana is that all its neighboring countries will grow strongly, with Ivory Coast expected to record 5.5% GDP. The World Bank also reviewed the country's GDP for last year to 1.1% despite the economy entering into a mild recession in the third quarter of this year. The economy is, however, expected to grow at a modest rate of 2.4% next year. Additionally, the World Bank said the coronavirus pandemic caused an estimated 6.1% fall in per capita income last year in Ghana and many sub-Saharan African nations, and is expected to lead to a further 0.2% decline this year. The resultant decline in per capita income is expected to set average living standards back by a decade or more in a quarter of sub-Saharan African economies.
All right, so we did see that Mr. Setchum Akwabwa also interesting at some summaries of the figures we're hearing from the World Bank. If our producers could pull that one up as well. It's a particular slide on the latest Global Economic Prospects Report. As you can see on your screen, the first is that Ghana's resilient agriculture sector can't save it from the dire impact of COVID-19 on oil and other sectors. Also, the World Bank is saying that Ghana's slow economic growth is largely due to the constraints of the lockdown season that disrupted services sectors such as tourism. And one interesting other factor is that countries are heavily dependent on tourism, with huge travel air traffic suffered from near complete shutdowns of tourism-related activity. And also, although metal prices recovered somewhat in the second half of 2020, oil prices remain well below 2019 levels, weighing on the pace of recovery in oil exporting economies such as Ghana, which of course lays bare the explanation of the performance of gold and cocoa on the commodity market respectively. So Mr. Chuma Kwabwa, this isn't so good news for government, especially when they're coming in. What strategic purpose do you think this could serve in the information decision of government moving forward?
I think largely, if you listen to the report clearly, the reason why they downgraded Ghana in terms of our growth and all that is largely attributed to the pandemic situation, the coronavirus.
Exactly.
And indeed, because we have been doing the barometer, gauging the business environment and all that. And the first quarter BB we actually had the business confidence going up, meaning that the economy was gradually doing well. And if you track most of the macroeconomic variables, the inflation rate, the interest rate, the policy rate, everything in the right direction. Then the pandemic started. Then subsequent indicators we had in the third quarter, for example, support this point as well. And you could see that because of the pandemic, government expenditure went up. Meanwhile, government income also, the revenue also was quite low, so the debt level was rising, and all this contributed to the growth, the reduction in the growth rate as expected. So definitely has been challenges, but it's largely attributed to the pandemic. Now, the question is, going into next year, what do we do to ensure that we are able to stabilize the economy, consolidate whatever we have, and actually see real growth, and then maybe beyond what World Bank has projected? I think there are a couple of things that we need to do. First of all, we need to stabilize the macroeconomic environment right. The debt overhang is huge. How are we going to deal with it? I think government has to be very smart about it and see how to deal with this huge debt that is hanging on our neck. There's high expectation in terms of expenditure. And then revenue, too sure of the revenue stream also, and the balance in it is going to be a bit of a challenge. So controlling and managing your expenditure will be very key in making the macroeconomic environment stable. We need to get all the indicators also right so that at the very macro level, we seem to be okay. Once you have a predictable macroeconomic environment, then the actors would then have other things going for them. Oil prices, I'm sure now that we are coming out of the coronavirus pandemic situation, definitely oil prices would improve, and other commodity prices will also improve. Gold didn't suffer that much, and therefore we expect to see some improvement there. But then what is most critical is the moving away from the traditional way of generating income. So if it is value addition, as President is saying, once you add more value, then strategically, you are actually adding your income generation revenue. Because, and then let's also take advantage of the CFTA that is coming. What do we do to ensure that we have a lot more of Ghanaian products out there? so that we generate a lot more export revenue. And if we go by what the president is saying, if we focus a lot more on value addition, then our chances of generating more revenue through the exports will become very high. And then that will help improve our economic situation. They mentioned something which is also quite interesting. They are saying that, well, the challenges we have, the resilience in the agricultural sector cannot, compensate for it. What it means is that our agricultural sector has not been that bad. It means that if you have some good resilience there, then if we improve upon it a little bit, then we can actually achieve significant improvement. What it also means is that we have to ensure proper linkage between agriculture and manufacturing. If we are doing well in agriculture, we can do even better by supplying the needs of industry through the agricultural sector. So the raw material base has to be strong, supplied in a consistent and regular and reliable manner, and then also in a very competitive prices, so that when you add any value, the final product price will be competitive.
Mr. Chimakwabwa, it's very interesting. It's very interesting you're talking about agriculture, because the president has also been touting the most popular, Planting for Food and Jobs and the various reforms to make sure that Ghana is a food basket. Let us pull up that particular submission he made in his inaugural speech regarding agriculture. Then we come back to you finally.
Food production has increased significantly, and a conscious effort has been made to improve the living standards of our farmers. The newly constructed warehouses dotted across the country are storing the surpluses for export to our neighbors, and the program for Planting for Food and Jobs has become the veritable rock on which the successful future of our agriculture is being built. Our roads are being constructed at a much faster pace than before. And yes, I acknowledge that there are still many more kilometers to construct. We defined last year as the year of roads. This year will be the second year of roads. As we continue with our focus on dealing with the deficit in our road infrastructure, the development of our rail sector, on which considerable resources and energies are being devoted, will open up the country and lead to the creation of a more connected society, and will also help realize the goal of regional and continental integration.
So that was President Akufo-Addo. Mr. Chimakwabwa, shortly convinced?
Oh, quite well, because he said agriculture is key, and one can attest to the fact that there has been significant improvement, and I think the World Bank report was even attesting, confirming that. So if we are doing well in agriculture, and we can move to the next stage, which is value addition, and then we can link agriculture properly to manufacturing and provide the needed raw material, then I think it is looking positive. And I think other sectors are equally important. He mentioned the construction sector, the year of growth being extended to this year. It means that if all the economic sectors working quite well, then we are likely to have good growth in GDP and then good general growth in employment and all that. So I don't think it is negative. I'm looking more positively to the year. I think that if we get our acts together and we actually buy into the president's vision, and all the agencies of government provide the needed support, and we take it to the right level, we should be able to improve whatever projections we have, and then have much more positive growth in GDP.
Mr. Chimakwabwa, so grateful that you were able to join us. He's the Chief Executive of the Association of Ghana Industries. But of course, we're going to stay more on this discussion, especially when we are still joined by the Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Mark Bedu Abuaje. Because whatever happens in Parliament, whichever bills are passed, will definitely have a toll on the business community, no matter how large, no matter how small. Of course, let's pull up the performance when it comes to the passage of specific bills in the former Parliament, the 7th Parliament. Then after, we could have this discussion with Mr. Mark Bedu Abuaje. So on your screen shortly, you're going to be seeing the major business-friendly bills passed by the 7th Parliament. The first was the Custom Amendment Bill 2017, which, of course, amended the Customs Act 2015, Act 891, to provide specific, guidelines on custom bills and whatnot. The company's bill was also very much key, especially as it's established the office of the Registrar of Companies and to provide for related matters. This contributed to the ease in doing business in Ghana and the number of days that most businesses have to spend in registering their business names. And of course, the Income Tax Amendment Act as well played a very huge role in the private sector. We had the Chamber of Commerce and Industry also comment on this one. So, Mr. Mark Bedu-Aboagye, you see on your screens much more of a busy, past 4 years of the 7th Parliament. But where do you see the direction and your expectation of this new 8th Parliament when it comes to major business-friendly bills?
Hello?
Yeah, so
I think Parliament plays a very critical role in democratic dispensation.
Okay.
And if you look at the bills that you listed, these are business bills. And going forward, we expect that they will work together to ensure that most of the bills that they bring in are those that are going to be of help to businesses. In fact, if what we saw this morning after the election of the speaker is anything to go by, then we're expecting that there will be they are going to work together. We are encouraging them actually to work together because anything apart from that will be detrimental to Ghana and also to the economy of Ghana. We are hopeful that in the years to come, a lot of the bills, business-related bills, will go there, and they should look at it in the interest of Ghana and not in any partisan interest, because anything that will affect the private sector will also largely affect the economy of Ghana and the people of Ghana. So we are looking forward to a situation where both the NDC and the MPP will work consensuously on issues that come to them. Of course, the budget for 2021 up to 2024 from the president will go to Parliament, and most of the things are issues that affect the private sector in terms of how they are going to manage the economy, how they are going to build a very robust economy, stable exchange rate, lower inflation, the revenues and the expenditures, and also debt related to Ghana's economy. So they should look at it largely in the interest of Ghana. And I hope that if they do that, Ghana will be the winner. We need peace. We need an environment that will help the private sector to thrive. In fact, one of the main reasons why somebody will invest in the economy is to where they have peace and where they have a secured environment. The reason why we have had a lot of FDI, among others, is that people feel that we have a secured environment, we have a peaceful environment, so they feel comfortable investing in the country. So Parliament, both parties, let's work together in the interest of Ghana and also in the interest of the private sector.
It's interesting you make this point, Mark, because we do know that investors are much more averse to uncertainty. And having a hung parliament, mostly they're just concerned about the stalemate in business, related passages that could even affect the entire climate of business investment. What are investors really telling you?
Well, investors are looking out for a peaceful environment. A few discussions that we have had with them, and they see us as people that can build consensus, people that can agree on issues when it comes to our economy, when it comes to businesses, and when it comes to our people. So they are not so much concerned because we have, over the years, shown to the world that we are a country that adhere to very good democratic principles. We've had both NDC and MPP coming to power, and businesses are running. We've not had any issue of war. So investors, those who have invested previously, have secured environment they have invested in. So the confidence is still there. We have been able to elect a president. We've sworn in him. He has also promised us and be committed to building a very strong economy, a very strong private sector. So I don't think we have any issue. We are supposed to work harder and also attract more investment into Ghana. It's a secured environment. Nobody should be worried. We are peaceful people. We are working together in the interest of Ghana and the world.
Mr. Mark Bedu-Aboagye, we're grateful that you joined us for this fruitful discussion. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Let's still stay on the discussions regarding Parliament because, as I said, whatever it does impacts businesses, no matter how small, no matter how big. And speaking of businesses, let's touch base once again with Dr. Joseph Obin of GUTA, as well as Mr. Clement Boateng, because these gentlemen are key players in whatever economic decisions that traders in Ghana make moving forward. I want to start off with you, Mr. Clement Boateng. Ahead of this inaugural speech, of course, we did have expectations from the part of, spare part dealers, automobile manufacturing firms, and even those out there trying to make a living at Abosokai. Did the president really convince you when it comes to the economic direction for traders like yourself under his next administration? Do we have Mr. Clement Boateng? If you could unmute so we could hear your question, Mr. Clement. Kindly unmute so that we could hear what you're saying, please.
So can you
You're loud
hear me
and clear.
now?
You're loud and clear.
Okay. Good evening and thank you very much for having me. I think if we listen to the president's inaugural address, he basically touched on the need, to add,
Mr. Boateng,
value to whatever we are doing here, and that's
your phone is jerking. It seems your phone is jerking, Mr. Boateng. So if you could kindly place the phone or the laptop on a very, stable surface, so we could have a smooth conversation with you. You seem much more shaky. But let me bring in Ms. Dr. Obin there. Parliament has a huge role to play when it comes to traders. What exactly is your expectation as the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obin? Dr. Obin, are you there? If you could unmute your microphone, please. Well, we're trying our best to get in touch with these gentlemen. But let us once again pull up the specific advancements that the 7th Parliament, was able to pass. Business-friendly bills passed in the 7th Parliament as Mr. Boateng rectifies the issues on his, his laptop, as Dr. Obin also joins us. So these are some of the major business-friendly bills. Income tax amendment. Of course, we did see that it was to provide for the exemption of tax of the gains from the realization of the securities listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. The Office of the Registrar General, as well as we stated, to establish and ensure the smooth registration of businesses. Also, the Special Petroleum Tax Amendment Act 2017, Act 879, which reduced the rate of the special petroleum tax on the ex-depot prices from the various, OMCs. And of course, the Energy Sector Levy Amendment 2017, which provided a reduction in the rate of levies for public lighting. So all these things are there for the former Parliament. Now, in the direction of the 8th Parliament, Mr. Obin, Dr. Obin, whatever happens has a dire impact on traders in Ghana. What exactly is your expectation as GUTA?
Yeah, I'm expecting that we engage ourselves positively as the 8th Parliament. The composition of it is well balanced, and we do not expect that we will be entrenched on some of these issues. And that's what the business community is expecting, is that we do dialogue and build consensus. It is only doing this that we can drive the nation positively to our aims. So it's an appeal. I believe that this year should be a year of consultations. That this era, this
new Parliament,
this Parliament should be the era of consultation and all that, and especially when trade unions like us will also join hands with them to make sure that we all build consensus. Otherwise, there will be seeming confusion if Parliament have to be entrenched.
All right.
Some of these bills cannot be passed and all that. So we are all going to join hands, make sure that we do all these things together. We have to consult ourselves, build consensus, and then some of these beautiful acts and bills that will be proposed can well be passed on for our benefit.
Let's bring in Mr. Clement Boateng. I believe he's rectified the issues now. Spare part dealers, no matter how small, you people play a huge role in the economic front. Ahead of this inaugural speech by the president, even that of the inauguration of the new parliament, you had existing expectations from government. What exactly are traders telling you now, especially when President Akufo-Addo is talking value addition, he's talking continental free trade agreement area, and as well self-reliance? Kindly unmute so we could hear you, Mr. Clement Boateng.
Addition. I think we all have to, add values to whatever we are doing in order to, propel the country forward. And then looking at the state,
My bad.
You could see that none of either side is having, a clear majority, and this, calls for consensus building so that whatever bill, that will be laid, before the parliament.
We're losing Clement Boateng.
Coming in that industry. Hello?
Yeah, go on. You're making a point.
Okay. Yeah, coming to the spare parts industry, like you rightly said, I spoke to one, economist, and he told me that the spare parts industry contributes a small force to reckon with. We contribute greatly to the country's economy. Now, regarding the Custom Amendment Act, which was put on hold last year, as you are.
We're losing Clement Boateng.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go on, please.
Yes, like I was saying, when the act was passed last year, there were three issues that we raised, and that has to do with the clean title.
Mr. Boateng, we'll try getting you via phone. But let me rake in Dr. Joseph Obeng, because the Customs Amendment Act played a very huge role for you. Last year, you had so many interactions with us on this particular issue. Where do you see this in this new parliament, Dr. Obeng?
Yeah. I think I'm having a technical problem here.
Wow. Please continue. We could hear you loud and clear, Dr. Obeng. Seems we've lost Dr. Obeng there. But let us play for you once again President Akufo-Addo's historical antecedents to the Continental Free Trade Agreement area and the need for a national self-reliance when it comes to the consumption of goods and services. We come back to advance the discussion proper.
We shall play our full part in the deliberations and activities of all the organizations to which we belong: ECOWAS, the African Union, Commonwealth, La Francophonie, the United Nations, and others. Ghana, which has the privilege of hosting the Secretariat of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, intends to be one of the main drivers of its success. The AFCFTA provides us Africans with a great opportunity to exploit and develop our resources for the benefit of our own people and end the centuries-old exploitation of our continent's vast wealth for the benefit of others.
Well, I believe we have Clement Boateng online for us to have this discussion once again on the Customs Amendment Bill. If you could hear me, you were making a point about the contribution that spare part dealers have on the entire, economic structure of the country. Advance that discussion for us.
Yes, Charles, like I was saying, I hope you can hear me now.
It's loud and clear.
Okay, so like I was saying, when the act was passed, latter part of the.
I'm afraid we'd have to raise you via phone. You're still watching this extended edition of Business Live with me, Charles Aite. We're taking a breather. When we come, we just wrap up on our discussions on Parliament, the new Parliament, and that of Akufo-Addo's administration. But just before this break, I think we have Clement Boateng on the phone lines now to have a very much fruitful discussion. Clement, so you were making a point once again, let's see if this works this time around, on the contribution that spare part dealers have on the economy. Advance this as you also touch on the Customs Amendment Bill.
Like I was saying, I said when the act was passed somewhere, latter part of the year, there were three issues, that we raised because there was a committee, a stakeholder, a committee that was formed to have an engagement with the Trade Ministry. And as part of the engagement, there were three issues that were raised. One has to do with the issue of clean title. And then the second issue was the definition of the salvage vehicle. And then the last issue had to do with the 35% import duty that will be slapped on all vehicles which will be brought into the system. So
okay.
These are the three major issues that we raised. And then when those issues were raised, we had engagement with, the trade minister. A committee, was formed to still have deliberations with the trade minister. At one point in time, we were even called, to the presidency. When we went to the presidency, we met the president himself. The president referred us back, to the trade minister. A subcommittee was formed again to continue with the deliberations. And at one point, we were made to understand that all our concerns, will be addressed. But then we should allow the implementation of the act. If the implementation is done, then whatever concerns that we have raised, will be tabled, before Parliament for our concerns to be addressed. So we agreed on that. But later on, there were, some sort of agitations from especially our friends in the second-hand car industry, and then we had to be called again. So it was at that point that we were made to understand, because on that meeting, the Commissioner of Customs, which was going to be the implementing agency, as well as the Ghana Standard Authority, both chief executives were there. And on that last meeting, it was made clear to us that the implementation was going to be put on hold, and that we were going to form another committee to have further, deliberations before, if the implementation will start, it can go on. So currently, as you are all aware, the implementation has been put on hold, pending the formation of that subcommittee, to meet again, judge, and then see, the way forward. But, this subcommittee should have been formed getting to the tail end of the year, but because of the elections, it was deferred. So now that, elections are over, the president has been sworn in, we have a parliament, I'm sure that within the next couple of weeks, that committee, will be, revived, and then we will go and sit down and deliberate on issues and then see the way forward. But as it is now, we are all aware that the implementation of the act has been put on hold.
So as it's been put on hold, it definitely would impact the output when it comes to how much you put into the importation of these goods. How is it going to also have that trickle-down effect on pricing here back home?
No, regarding prices, I don't think there's going to be any price increase. We are still, going to sell as we used to sell until maybe if the implementation, comes into force, then maybe there will be some price adjustment. But as I'm talking to you now, we are still selling at what we used to sell. There's not going to be any price change.
So aside from this, pending issue in Parliament and on your table, what other priority do you wish this new Parliament addresses for traders like yourself and those at Abosokai?
Yes, like my president rightly said, what currently businesses are craving for is access to, affordable credit. We are all aware that currently the Bank of Ghana policy is around 50%. But you could see that the commercial bank are still not, responding to it
so
in terms of reducing
access to cheap credit
interest
is much more of a concern to you. You want
we are aware
Parliament
that
to
the advent of this corona.
Great. So access to lending, effective lending instruments. We get your point. We're so grateful, Clement Boateng, that he joined us. He's a national organizer of the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Earlier was the president, and even that of the business chamber, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce, as well as the AGI, putting their thoughts together on expectations on this 8th Parliament and that of Akufo-Addo's second term. My name is Charles Ayete. This has been a special edition of Business Live. We're grateful for your time and enjoy the rest of the holiday.